Good morning. I'm Naresh Khanna, editor of Packaging South Asia, and I'm here this morning at Leap DigiPrint in Noida with Mr. Vikram Prasad, who is one of the founding partners and directors of the company. So we just have a quick word with Mr. Prasad. Tell us a bit about why you started the company or how you decided that it should be digital printing and etc.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I and my business partner, we both come from a background of packaging. Both of us individually had spent around 25 odd years in packaging, primarily in flexible side, but also handling products with gravure process, flexo process, as well as offset process. So we were conversant with most of the conventional printing processes. So when it came for us to decide which way we wanted to lean, essentially wanted to lean towards the future because that's what we believed digital is going to be. It is going to be the future of printing as far as packaging is concerned.
So the company now is more than 8 years old, and it is in a growth process actually right now, it seems, having added some machinery and more machinery is coming in. Nevertheless, Mr. Prasad, you told us that you see some challenges. Could you share some of those?
Yeah, sure. The challenges are very similar to what challenges most other industries face. But for digital, we believe that the challenges have come sooner than later because it's still a very, very new technology in India. And the rate at which new capacity has gotten added to the digital space, and also how conventional technologies have responded to the threat by digital, that has really created an atmosphere of challenge in the industry where digital now faces challenge on cost pressure. There is immense cost pressure now on digital as well, whereas it didn't exist a few years back. The cost of consumables continue to be high, even though it has come down from what it was, but it is still way too high to be really able to compete on even grounds with conventional technologies. And the capital expenditure is still very, very high as compared to the conventional technologies. Given the capacity that digital brings on board, digital capacities are far lower machine to machine as compared to either a flexo press or a gravure press. So from that point of view, the capital expenditure seems to be on the far higher side.
I remember when digital printing first sort of came on the scene, it was 1993 in IPEX, and there were two technologies there that were very visible. One was the Agfa Chromo Press, and there was the HP Indigo. And one of the promises at that time was that as the footprint of machines grew, the volumes increased, the price of consumables would go down. And I believe the digital press you have is possibly the largest selling label press in the world. And India is a fairly large consumer of this type of capital equipment as well as consumables. So one would expect some kind of rationalization, perhaps, for the consumables on this machine.
It will be unfair to say that rationalization hasn't happened. It has happened, but in the context of the Indian market, which is very differently placed than most of the developed markets or even some of the developing markets, that the cost pressures in India are of a far different kind as compared to, say, a China or a Vietnam or a Thailand. We face very different cost pressures. So from that perspective, the rationalization which has happened, it doesn't seem to be adequate. It doesn't really seem to address the need of the Indian market. So that is the challenge, that the consumables price which have been rationalized, they still are far beyond the reach of a regular Indian user of printed packaging.
The paradigm in India is slightly different. In most of the world, digital printing, one of the advantages is that it uses less labor and is more automated. So that paradigm doesn't work as well
Very true.
in India also. So that advantage is not there. And the cost of capital is very high in India. You go to a bank, you cannot borrow at the rate that you can anywhere else in the world. And that applies also equally to the cash flow for consumables.
True.
Both the substrate as well as the inks and toners, etc. So one other question I thought of asking you is that has the idea of digital labels and digital packaging caught on with the mainstream brands, or are you still mostly in the area of startups and new brands and smaller companies?
See, I still see digital more relevant for newer brands, the brands which the startup companies are coming out with, because it's very, very relevant from their perspective. But at the same time, we have seen a lot of traction in mid-sized brands which have almost a national presence, or if not national, at least a very strong state or a regional level presence. There are some of the brands which are finding digital as a far better way of printing their labels and packaging as compared to conventional technologies. And the reason which I believe could be driving this is the fact that digital with it brings a lot of consistency in the output which we are able to offer. And it comes with a lot of operational comfort which the buyer is able to exercise, because the quality is extremely consistent, the supplies are far quicker, and everything else that comes along with digital, I think, makes it very convenient for a brand to use it even for middle-size requirements. So I see definitely this as a trend, and even though the large national brands use it very, very sparingly, but I see this as a trend that at some point in future, even large brands will start finding it relevant for them to use digital, which will also possibly force the consumable prices to come down and get far more rationalized if that were to happen.
This may require some more creativity from the large brands.
Absolutely.
Not just the basic buying paradigm, which
True.
is volume and price. So the last question I would ask you to address, Mr. Prasad, is your more recent growth into flexible packaging. Could you talk about how that happened and where that is going?
As I said right at the outset that I come from a background of flexible packaging, and even my business partner comes with a similar background. So we had the knowledge of the market, we had the knowledge of the production and the technology side, and we knew that digital print would be able to support this segment very well. So once we had our own digital printing setup, we very quickly were able to make small dents into the flexible side of the business also. But the downstream converting of flexibles was getting outsourced for a first initial few years. As soon as we realized that there is enough traction for us in this market, we invested in our own downstream converting equipment like a solventless laminator, a wide web slitter, and a pouching line. This was done in 2024. So now we have complete capability to do flexibles in-house. And that business has grown at a faster pace than our digital label business, simply because the shift in flexible market towards digital has been a far more recent phenomena. So it's basically the learning curve right now where it's adapting much faster to digital.
And your new machine will add to your capacity to serve the flexible packaging market.
That's true, very true.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.